Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessie Nealon, and today I want to talk a little bit about the process, like the sort of workflow that happens when we're going from body image suffering to body neutrality. And before I start that, I would just want to talk about the fact that a lot of the workflow that we've sort of been given in the body positivity movement would be like, you hate your body and then you love your body. And a lot of times when people think about body neutrality, they think about that spot in between. So they're thinking, oh, I hate my body and then I don't mind it so much and then I don't care about it at all and then I start to like it and then I love it. That's what they're imagining the whole sort of definition and journey would be like. But unfortunately, it doesn't really work like that. And the way that I teach body neutrality is unique to me. So if you have other sources of body neutrality, by all means, do what you want. But if you're curious about how I work and the process that it looks like for my clients, like this is how I believe is the most helpful sort of workflow and process concept for you to think about. Basically, I define body neutrality not as like not caring about your body, but rather just seeing yourself with clear and neutral vision. So personally, I believe we were all born with body neutrality. It's our default state, right? Like we're not inventing something new. The language of body neutrality might be relatively new, but the actual experience of just seeing stuff clearly, seeing yourself clearly, seeing other people's bodies clearly, seeing the world clearly, like that's not new. I didn't invent that. So what we're talking about when we're talking about body neutrality is stripping away the layers that get in the way of body neutrality, which is your default natural state. So, for example, you were not born thinking that like cellulite was ugly, right? Nobody was. But you might have learned along the way to associate a very particular attachment and association and meaning and significance with cellulite, like ugly, failure, imperfect, risking rejection, dangerous if you're trying to like get certain needs met, like finding a great partner or having a higher social status. So all those things will get in the way because now you can't see cellulite clearly and neutrally because now it has meaning. Now it has significance, right? It's completely in your way of body neutrality, which means now you're really not able, when you look in the mirror and see cellulite, to have clear vision. That's the issue. And when I talk about body neutrality, I'm not talking about deciding that cellulite is great. I'm talking about stripping that away until you can get to a point where you just see it and go, it's cellulite. That's all it is. It's morally neutral. It doesn't really mean anything. And I would say part of that clear and neutral vision is acknowledging other people think it means something. So therefore, in my society, it actually is going to have some meaning. But that meaning is about what society is doing, not what I am. Right? Like you might say, I actually might get bullied for this cellulite. It's possible I could get rejected or insulted because of this cellulite, or other people would judge me. Those are real. You can see that with clear and neutral vision. But it would not be true to then interpret it into yourself and say, which means it's bad, which means I'm bad, which means I have to get rid of it, or which means, like something negative about me, like I'm lazy. So those are the stories that we need to strip away. We can acknowledge the truth of the situation. Other people like certain things. We have beauty ideals. We have systems of oppression. We have all kinds of stuff that is true and real. But body neutrality is being able to look in the mirror and say, even though those things are true, it doesn't actually mean anything about me. It's not true in the sense of deep truth, right? It is not a universal objective truth that cellulite is bad or ugly. It's just true that there are people who uphold the system of oppression around beauty ideals and social privilege that say it's ugly. So really separating yourself from the untruth is a huge part of being able to see yourself clearly and neutrally. And likewise, if you're like, oh, I'm fat, and so people bully and marginalize me like it's my fault. There's a few things going on here. There is a truth, which is that we live in a fat-phobic society and that weight stigma is real and that you may, in a fat body, have to end up dealing with certain harassment, marginalization, etc. Like that's true. But it is not true that it's your fault. It is not true that it's your body's fault. It is not true that you are to blame for other people's bad behavior and the system of oppression that they are upholding when they are causing harm to you. Like that part's not true. That's an interpretation. That is a story, and that will get in the way of you being able to see yourself with clear and neutral vision. Because when you look in the mirror and you see a fat body, you're going to think to yourself, uh-oh, this is bad. Like this has moral significance about me. It means I'm bad and worthy of harassment and marginalization. And that's not true. That's just a story. So when I talk about neutrality, I'm really talking about this. The ability to look in the mirror and go, maybe I don't prefer it today. but it doesn't mean anything about me. You know, like there are plenty of days where I don't prefer how I look. There are days where like I have a huge zit or my hair is not cooperating or, you know, any number of things, right? Ate a bunch of salt and I get big puffy bags under my eyes. Like I don't prefer that. I don't look in the mirror and go, cool, a zit. No, I just look in the mirror and I'm like, okay, cool, awesome, thanks, body. You know, like I'm like annoyed because this is not how I would prefer to look, but it doesn't have any power over me because I can see it with clear and neutral vision, which is to say I can see that it just doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have any stories or interpretations layered on top of it. I'm aware that I don't particularly like how it looks, and that's okay. That's neutral information. And I'm aware that it's there and I can't change it, and that's also neutral information. So there's no problem in that moment. Even if I don't like what I see, there is no problem. I feel no suffering. I feel no distress, you know, because I'm like, oh, cool, great. But instantly, like I move away from the mirror and I let it go because it doesn't mean anything. Whereas if I'm like, this is going to keep me from meeting the love of my life because I have a date today and it's so ugly and disgusting and nobody would ever want to talk to me. Like now I've added a lot of meaning and significance to something and I am not going to be able to let it go, right? Like that's what we do when we have negative body image issues, when we suffer over it, when we have distress over it. This is why. So body neutrality and the way that I teach it and work on it with clients, we go through the process of discovering what you have layered on top, the meaning, the associations, the stories, the interpretations, the moral significance, which like this is complicated. This is not an easy solution. Body neutrality is hard and time consuming, but it works because then when you strip those things away one by one, you don't have to do it all at once, but one by one, you strip them away, you find yourself at a point where you look in the mirror and maybe you don't like what you see because sure, you've been trained like we all have to have a preference to look a certain way that is like unrealistic. Fine. And then you move on and you're like, oh, that's so weird. I used to like be completely derailed when I'd see myself looking like that, or I saw an unflattering picture. I tried on a pair of jeans that didn't fit. My clients always tell me like, oh man, I used to blame myself and like go into a total stress spiral when that would happen. And now I just kind of like I just move on. And I'm like, yeah, that's what we're looking for. That's what body neutrality is. It is not a state of not caring necessarily. It is a state of simply being able to see the truth, which is that how you look just doesn't have the significance and meaning that you've been taught it does. And when you strip that shit away, you can just see yourself clearly. And seeing yourself clearly is seeing yourself neutrally. Like you are morally neutral. You having a body, neutral. It's neutral information. And ultimately that's what we want. That is the most functional way to have a relationship with your body in the world. And even if you want to love your body, like loving your body is totally compatible with seeing yourself clearly, right? Which is why I support that. If that's what you want to do, absolutely you can move towards that. But for a lot of people, just neutral and clear vision is that's it. That's all we need to do. Because from there, you can respect yourself. You know, you can respect your body. You can take good care of it. You don't have to love how it looks. You don't have to even feel grateful for it. You know, you don't have to have any affection or tenderness towards it necessarily at all to say it's just a body and it's fine. There's no problem. There's no problem in me preferring it look different. There's no problem in the fact that it looks the way it does. Like there's just no reason for distress here. Because I can just see that it's neutral information. And that's it. That's what I wanted to share. I hope that this is useful and helpful. It's something I feel so passionately about. So obviously, like I could just go on and on, but I'm going to call it here because I think the point has been made. But yeah, thank you for watching. I will catch you on the next video. And if you liked this one and it was helpful, please go ahead and hit like, hit subscribe, turn on the notifications, leave a comment, whatever it is that you can do to like spread this message and make sure more and more people can see it would be super helpful. So thank you. Really appreciate that. And I will see you next time.